Hey guys, it's Eric Agnew with the Miller Park Minute, where we're throwing strikes and getting likes, hitting dingers and getting listeners. Back again to talk some Brew Crew baseball. As always, guys, we are on all of your favorite podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Castbox. Probably some of these on the list are probably even expired, but that's okay. So we talk baseball on a regular basis. We have opportunities to speak with great people in the game of baseball along the way, and this is another one of those. My guest today entered his third season as an analyst on Brewers TV, Bally. I think he does some radio. He is a member of the 2020 Championship Milkmen. He all around funny guy of the internet. He has some great swag, many a bobbleheads, and in 2005, he was a Florida State postseason All-Star. So, without further ado, we will bring on our good friend Tim Dillard. Tim, how are you doing today, bud?
I'm good, Eric. I mean, 2005 Florida State League postseason All-Star. I mean, that's I forgot all about that. So I don't know if I got like a plaque for that or like a certificate. It must be in the mail, but I had a good season that year, surprisingly enough.
It's so funny to anytime I talk to you, I have different things I come up with, and along the way you have these achievements, and you're like, oh yeah, I was that. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call them achievements. It seemed like a big deal at the time, but like start looking back on it, it's like, it's not that big a deal. I will say this about minor league achievements, since I have, so much time in the minor leagues over my career. I remember one year we had Orlando Arcia, and he was getting his Gold Glove. We were in AAA, Colorado Springs, and everybody's like, "Dude, it's minor leagues. Who cares?" And I'm going, number one, if you getting a Gold Glove is legit. If you get a Gold Glove in the big leagues at, say, shortstop, right? You're going up against 15 other shortstops in the National League. If you get a Gold Glove at shortstop in the minor leagues, you're going up against like 100 or 200 shortstops
Right.
across the board. Like, there's a huge difference there. You're not just like, oh yeah, he gets a go. No, you're like the best of the best. So anyway, I just remember thinking, out of all the awards that they do, like that, the Gold Glove one from the minor leagues is the one that's probably as prestigious as something you would see in the big leagues, but not postseason All-Star for A ball.
Yeah, and you do the podcast. I mean, you
Yeah.
do a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, but you do the Brewers Unfiltered podcast, which I love your takes on there. It's always refreshing to hear you talk, because it's a little more in depth than I feel you're allowed to go on the TV broadcasts, and you kind of have get more of you, more of the Dillard personality comes out in the Unfiltered podcast with Sophia and Adam McAlvey, I
Yeah.
feel.
Well, I think that's the platform you're supposed to do it. It's hard to
Yes. Oh yeah.
kind of express yourself when it's like, hey, we got a 30-minute pregame show or postgame show, or you really, I mean, the games nowadays only last like 2.5 hours, so it's clearly not about you at all. You just have to basically call what's happening on the field and tell that story. If a guy doesn't get to a ball, like for instance, Perkins dove in on a ball yesterday in Kansas City and didn't come up with it. And you're like, oh man, he should have had that ball. It's like, yeah, but he's also played 20. I think that was his 21st straight game.
Mm-hmm.
Since Yelich went down. So like, the guy's tired. Like he's tired. I doubt he's in the lineup today. I bet Yelich plays the field today. But like you get tired. You just do. And anyway, you gotta have a little bit of backstory. So it's not just, oh, he didn't make the play. It's like, yeah, there's a little bit more going on than he just
Right.
didn't have a chance at it.
Well, and I think that goes to say, I mean, with your career and your experience, I'm sure you get to talk to these guys more on a day-to-day basis than probably anybody. Just being around the field and kind of hanging out prior to games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say Sophia talks to him way more, and then Adam. I usually see him. I see him at the field, at the dugout, around the cage area. I try to stay out of the clubhouse. I've never I mean, when I was in the clubhouse as a player, I remember how guys would talk about the media, like, man, they're in our space, right? Like clubhouse is the home. It's where everybody feels safe, and then all of a sudden let in media. So there's always this arm's length type situation when it comes to, if I have a credential that they give me, which I need to find that. I don't remember where I put it. But anyway, I try to stay out of there. And I feel like maybe I should get in there to like get more access. But the Brewers played the Padres not long ago at home. And I went and saw Tony Gwynn. He was working, I think, radio that game. So I was talking to Tony Gwynn Jr. and I brought that up. I was like, man, I just don't go in the clubhouse that much. And he whips around and was like, I don't either. Like there's something about being a former player where you're just like, I kind of want to stay out of there. That's their space. And so I just asked him for advice, like, well, how do you get to know these guys? And he's like, well, number one, hopefully they'll respect you for staying out of their space so that when you ask them for, hey, can I get an interview, or hey, can I talk to you over here, that they're more likely to do that, because they know you're trying to do it as right as possible. So yeah, and I get to see them obviously on like the hotels, on the road trips, and the planes and the buses, and
Right.
it's fun. It's fun. It makes you feel like part of the team.
Well, and I mean, you're staying in the world that you were basically in before. So, and you've been through the grinds of the season, and obviously with your long tenured minor league career, I think you know what it's like to be that guy that's just having a rough patch and doesn't really want to answer all the questions, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, my whole career was a rough patch. Yeah, I mean, it's one more thing. Like I always felt bad for Counsell, and I kind of feel bad for Murph, but Murph does a great job. But like just having to answer the questions all the time. And then people say, well, it's part of your job. You have to talk to the media before the game. You got to talk to the media after game. And as a player, it's like after the game, yeah, you're required. You should talk to the media and talk about if it's good or talk about if it's bad. But it's like it's not what you signed up for. Like deep down, every player's like, all I want to do is play baseball. Like that's all I want to do. I want to play baseball with my friends. And then somewhere along the way, it gets more and more complicated. And then the big leagues is that times 1,000. Like it becomes more of the business side. And deep down, all those guys, whether it's a coach or even a broadcaster, you're just like, I just want to broadcast with my friends. But there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But you could say that really about any job, in your head. And when you start out, you're like, this is how it's going to be. And then it shifts. But some guys are better at it than others. Some guys are more open to it, and some guys just need more time. But
Right.
I like the guys that have it in perspective, and I think that's what I like about Pat Murphy so much is he just kind of leads with that perspective of, hey, this is something that is part of it. Instead of shying away from it, let's just lean into it, and we'll all do this together.
Now, I'm sure you can say this.
Maybe
When you were a minor leaguer, when you won your all-star, you had probably no inclination of the career that would come after your baseball career.
Yeah, no shot. I mean, I felt like I was a prospect for a while. The Brewers probably never said that. I would say that. But I mean, I did well. 2005 was probably my best year. Almost threw 200 innings. They started limiting my innings the last month, so I easily could have had over 200 innings, and doing it on a really good pitch count as well. And they were like, no, 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 we want to save your arm. And I'm like, the one thing I've never had a problem with in my entire career, and I played 18 seasons, and you could even go back to like college, a couple years, high school. Like I never had a problem with my arm. I've been given one gift, actually two gifts in the world: great beard, and I can throw a baseball. That's it. Like that's it. Sometimes some seasons I would throw the ball harder than others. Some seasons I would throw the ball over the top, and some seasons sidearm. But yeah, like that I thought, man, I'm going to play in the big leagues for 10 years. Every minor leaguer thinks that, and they should. They should. You should think as a minor league player, I'm going to get to the big leagues. I'm going to be there for 10 years because that's everyone's goal. That was my goal. And so 05 was a good season. 06, I was a AA all-star, and I thought, hey, I'm on my way. And then I got to AAA, which AAA is good now, but back in the day in AAA, you would like I think my first start in AAA 2007, I faced Sandy Alomar Jr. And I literally collected that guy's baseball card. Like, that's the people that you're facing in AAA is guys that got a lot of time in the show, that they've been around a long time. They just were kind of on the outs, like trying to get in back into the big league. I faced Fernando Tatis in AAA, like in 2008 or 9, not junior, senior, right? So, I mean, these guys are good players, had big moments in the big leagues, and suddenly they're in AAA. So you're not just facing no names, right? I think it's changed a little bit where they have more prospects in AAA. I think they've been forced to do that with some of the rules MLB's implemented against minor league baseball, and they weed out some of the older, crustier guys like myself. But it's just so difficult just to get to the big leagues, but to stay there. So, like, I never had a problem with injury. That's not the reason I stayed in the big leagues. I didn't stay in the big leagues because I just probably wasn't good enough to stick there. You know, I had some good seasons where maybe that was my chance. And even now, I feel like if I was in AAA and I was starting, maybe I'd have a shot at getting called up. But that's, you know, you can't, you can build it in your mind of what your career is going to be, but baseball doesn't care what you have in mind.
Right.
There's so many things that you don't control. And I think that's the hardest part. I feel like I was in baseball for so long where it was like, here's the crop of guys I came to the big leagues with. And then those guys came through the system with, and they kind of fizzled out. And then there was another group. And then I was just there for another 4 or 5 years. And then they fizzled out. And then here's another group. So, like, I feel like there's like 4 or 5 groups that I was around during my career. And I just kept plugging away at minor leagues. And a lot of those guys couldn't deal with the fact that you'd have zero control over your career. Like, they could call up anybody. It's like throwing a dart at a roster. You don't know if you're the guy or not. And so it's really hard to deal with that because you'll be a AA or AAA and you're looking around going, does anybody care? And I think it's more on the map now than maybe it used to be, but still there's times I guarantee there's AA and AAA guys are going, does anybody care what I'm doing right now? And it's hard it's mentally and spiritually. And I mean, it's a hard game.
Well, you can probably speak to that right now, especially with the Brewers pitching situation that we're kind of in the middle of. We don't know who's going to get the call. Tobias Myers, got called up, and he's been pretty decent from the couple outings that he's had. But you don't know if you're going to be that guy. I mean, his name wasn't on a radar. It's not like he's Robert Gasser is the one that I go to. That's kind of the one that's really kind of like the radar name that everybody knows if you ask Brewers fans. So
yeah. Here's the problem with the minor leagues right now. And just in my opinion, if you look at the people that come up, relievers come up and they don't have much of a problem, right? If you're throwing 100 in the minor leagues, guess what? 100 plays in the big leagues. You just have to throw strikes. A starting pitcher is a little bit different. You're facing, it's a big jump. It's a bigger jump from AAA to the big leagues than it used to be. Getting back to when I was facing some of these older guys, the biggest jump was from AA to AAA. But now you're getting guys that are whisking through the organization. They get to AAA, and for the way it's drawn up now, it's my belief that there's a bigger chasm between AAA and the big leagues than there's ever been. And that's why you're not seeing just a whole lot of starting pitchers get to the big leagues and just run with it. It's very difficult. You're facing guys that have a plan, right? Maybe 8 out of 9 have a really good approach at the plate. And in AAA right now, maybe there's only 4 or 5 guys in a lineup. So even when you think you're at the bottom of the order and like, I'm about to get out of this. No, you're not. These dudes know how to play. They know how to hit. They're already out ahead of you. They know the situations. And if you're a young guy on the mound and you're facing an older guy at the plate, they're 2 or 3 steps ahead of you when it comes to what they think you're going to throw and what they're going to try to do to get a run in. And I've started facing that years ago in AAA where I'm like, I face an older guy in AAA with a man on third. I know he's trying to shoot the ball to right field. I face a young guy. He's trying to pull a home run to left field. So if I face a young guy, I'm going to pitch him and I get a ground ball to third and the guy doesn't score. If I'm facing an older guy, I have to be careful because I know exactly what he's trying to do. But it's the stuff of experience that they're not getting enough of that, I feel like, starting pitchers. But I really like Tobias Myers. I really do. I think his stuff is going to get better and better. He has great poise on the mound. I know it didn't go well for him last time out. I think it was against, was it the Yankees, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yep.
Was it Yankees?
No.
Who was the first game of the last road trip? I forgot. Cubs. Yeah, he struggled with the Cubs, but it was low. It was just control. And anyway, he kind of ended up figuring it out. But I've been watching videos of what stuff they've been working on in the bullpen. Chris Hook, Jim Henderson, and this is the kind of targeted stuff that they would do with, say, Corbin Burns. And I like that. I can sit there and see a background of like, oh, this is what they did when this guy was going through this moment of scuffling, and this was their remedy. So they've targeted an issue, they're looking at it, and he's going to pitch today, and I hope he does really well, because as a player, that when you try to make adjustments, you want to see results right away. Sometimes you're not going to get it, but if he comes out and does well, then that just solidifies, yes, we targeted a problem, it worked, and you have confidence in that.
And with a returning Christian Yelich yesterday, do you think that's going to be a breath of fresh air for, I'm not going to say we're slumping, because I feel like, it's just a blip in the radar along the schedule so far. I mean, we're still first place, we're still fighting it out. Do you think that's going to help refresh some of those tired bats? Like you mentioned, Blake Perkins has played 21 games, or started 21 games. Do you think that's going to be a big refresher?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you're getting an MVP back, right? And he was on that track before he got injured. And people are like, "Oh man, he's injured again." The dude's played 10 years in the show, over 10 years. Playing an everyday position. And he's battled injuries, right? And he's, had season-ending injuries. So to sit there, the people that get on to guys that get injuries have clearly never played real baseball. They probably play in the backyard and they think, I could do this every single day. I am in awe of Willy Adames and William Contreras. I don't know if I've seen players like this that much. I mean, I know like Marcus Semien with the Rangers being able to play every day. You got the Molina. Molina could, catch every day, it seemed like, for most of his career. It is a tough and demanding role. And nowadays, more than ever, you got to be smarter, because there's all sorts of stuff going on now. You have to think about scouting reports, and now they got the button pushing and stuff. It's a little less feel than it used to be. You think back in the day, guys didn't have any of that stuff. They didn't look at the dugout for signs. They didn't have buttons. They'd put a game plan together and but they always fell into strengths. You got John Smoltz on the mound, be like, all right, man, it's 2-2. Just throw 96 at the top of the zone. Let's go. Just blow them away. Oh, you're Greg Maddux? Well, just throw a sinker down. He's going to dribble it on the ground. Doesn't matter who the batter is. So anyway, I think it's a little more difficult to not only do it mentally, but the physical grind on the everyday player is something that's very difficult. I was just a bullpen guy, so I did about as much as the bat boy, probably less on most days. But I mean, it's just a weird dynamic. My dad played in the big leagues. He was an infielder, and one of the first things he said when I started pitching, he's like, "Don't you ever get on to a position player. You have no idea what it's like to play baseball and do this every single day, what it does to your body." And I was just like, okay. So I never did. So, Yelich coming back, like, hey, if he feels like he's ready, he's ready. Is it going to lift the team? Absolutely, it's going to lift the team. And he's a threat in the lineup, whether he swings the bat or not. I mean, he could just stand there. I remember he has the damage, that comes with like a Ryan Braun. I remember Ryan Braun in 07. He hurt his wrist right before he got called up. It was sore or something. He didn't go on the inactive list, I don't think, but we were in the dugout in Colorado Springs on a road trip, and it was a big situation. I was like, dude, you sure you can't pinch hit right here? Because you could end this game. It was late in the game. He kind of looked at me. He's like, nah, they won't let me hit. He's like, I could go up there and walk. I was like, you could go up there and walk? I'd never even heard that. I was like, you could, all right. Because I'm a pitcher. And I'm like, I would just throw you strikes. He's like, nah, I could probably walk. His first at bat, when they green lighted him to play again, he walked on like 6 pitches. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And he looks back at the dugout over there. I'm over there. And he's like, kind of looking like, yeah, told you. So some guys are just a threat if they're going to swing the bat or not. Christian Yelich is a threat. If a pitcher sleeps on him, he will make them pay. And here's the thing. Pitchers know that. If he went up there with an eye patch on and walked up with a cane, he would still be a threat in the batter's box.
That is so excellent. I like it. It's true though. I mean, the guy has that talent, and obviously you can see it we saw it in the first 11 games of the season. Now you go to Willie Adames, who I want to bring this up to you because I think this is just a great moment. The other day in Kansas City, uh, word came out that he was kind of John with those fans before he hit that home run, and came back and really had a cool moment with them. And have you ever seen anything like that? I don't think I've ever. Maybe with the Jock Peterson at Miller Park one time, some fans were giving him some heck.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've seen too many moments in baseball where a player does that and celebrates with the opposing fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to think about it. I feel like something like that's happened before. I can't really place it at the moment. But I thought it was amazing. And not only was it amazing, so we're watching this in real time, and you could tell as soon as he high fives his guys at home plate that were on base after the home run, he runs over to the fence and starts high fiving fans wearing Royals gear. And I was like right away going, I guarantee. I think I even read his lips because he was like, I told you I was going to do it. I told you I was going to. So I was reading his lips. I'm going, he told them he was going to hit a bomb. And we're all like looking around. I'm like, I'm telling you, I guarantee he told those fans, if I get up, I'm going to hit a bomb. And then sure enough, that's exactly what he said. And then hearing what Pat Murphy said, because he was right there and heard everything, it just is absolutely amazing. This is what baseball is. It just has moments like this out of nowhere. And Willie Adames just created that moment. He created that win out of like thin air. And he did it with the glove too, with his defense at the end of the game with a slide catch and throw across the diamond. I mean, it was just some players can take over a game. And is he going to do that next time they're down? Go talk to a fan? Like, no. It was conjured out of, the entire game of talking and stuff like that. And something just felt right for him to say it. If he pops up to the infield and the game's over, it's like, whatever. And that probably happens way more. But when you sit there and say, yeah, I'm going to do this, he probably hasn't done something like that very often where he's, jawing at the fans in a fun way. But Pat Murphy, if y'all, anybody listen, go find that clip of him talking about that moment. It will give you chills. It was so cool. And then with Yelich in the lineup the next day, I thought, man, these guys are about to go on a run. I know they didn't, win yesterday, but the foundation is there. I mean, the good vibes are there. This team is good.
Mm-hmm. I feel just with Willie hitting and Yelich coming back and Contreras continuing to hit. I mean, I don't know that guy, how that guy operates on the field and when he's there. I mean, you've been around obviously a lot more because you're a career, but is that guy just laser focused, locked in all the time, just trying to be better?
Who's that?
In the gym? Contreras.
Willie Contreras. So for example, like today, there's a game. It's the first game of a homestand. And I don't know if there's early BP or not. I get like an advanced schedule of kind of what they're going to do out throughout the day. I'm not sure why. I don't know why I have access, but I do. So I'm going to use it. But usually they put on there like early BP. And I love watching Contreras take BP. He doesn't like to take it in the cage if he can help it. And he doesn't like to hit on the field with everybody else. Why fans are out there, people behind the, on the warning track, everybody kind of watching. You only get like so many pitches and then you come out of the cage. He really likes to see where the ball travels because you could be in the cage and hit a rocket and you're like, oh, yeah, that feels good. But if you put that on the field, that rocket may go right at a catchable, position, left field, center field, right field. So he likes to see where he's hitting the ball. So he gets up there and it's usually Ozzie Timmons throwing to him, whether it's flips from really close or they'll set up a pitching machine. And it's trial and error is what it is. I'm trying to find a really good analogy. Can't think of one. But basically, he's trying to find the best way to hit whatever pitch they're working on, the best he can do to right center and left center. He's trying to figure out the best way to do that to where no one's going to catch it. And he just does it over and over again. And then he gets tired and he'll come out and then he's got Adames doing it all this season. And so Adames gets up there and they're doing the same thing. And what I like about it is because with everything going on with analytics and young guys, I don't know what their approach is. Everybody's approach should be in the gaps. Always be trying to hit the ball in the gaps. Because if you miss, guess what? Maybe you pull a ball and it's fair. If you're trying to pull everything, when you hit a rocket, it's going to be into the dugout, or in the left field, stands. That's foul. So for him, he wants to keep the ball fair and he wants to hit it hard. And that's what he's working on. And he likes to see the trajectory of the baseball where it goes. I mean, this is advanced stuff. Again, I told you my dad played in the big leagues and he was with the Red Sox. And there were times like only the starters would hit batting practice. Like that was it. My dad told me a story one time, like I forgot the exact names. He was like, hey, the manager came up and was like, hey, have you been at early batting or at batting practice every day? He's like, no. He's like, come out to batting practice. My dad was fired up, comes out there. He's got his bats. And the manager was like, no, you're going to shag for Carlton Fisk. He needs to hit. So my dad had to go shag for Carlton Fisk. Like now you can hit as much as you want. It is not hard to find a coach. You can go early and take batting practice. You can go hit in the cage and you can have every specific thing that you like. I know Andrew McCutcheon likes to do all sorts of stuff in the cage before he even gets to the field for batting practice. So everybody can have their own plan that they like. Go back to, Ted Williams in his book, one of his books, like 1974, he was still talking about like, not everybody got to take batting practice. They didn't even get to take batting practice every day, which is to me absurd. Like we've only been living in an age where everybody can have as many at bats as they want. So, yeah, you have to know what works for you, and then you have to know what to work on. If you're just in a cage swinging, like a broken swing set, it's not going to do anything. You're just swinging to be swinging. So, I don't know. That's what I see with Contreras. It comes on the field like he's, he's just a good player. This guy is very methodical at the plate. The way he swings the bat, he'll have a different swing every single time if you're looking close enough. And he's not afraid to go out of the zone and hit balls like rockets. That's Vladimir Guerrero Sr. to a T. This is the problem. You see guys nowadays, they have such a good idea of the strike zone and umpires don't care and pitchers don't care. They'll throw everything, right? Like you'll get caught looking and you're like, well, it was probably a ball, but the umpire called it a strike. Contreras is the guy that goes, if it's close enough, I'm going to learn how to hit a rocket on a ball up and away out of the zone. And there's a difference. If you're not looking to be able to hit that ball, then you're not going to hit it. If you're only thinking about the strike zone and what you're going to swing or not swing at, then who knows what's going to happen. You're leaving it in the umpire's hands. You're leaving it in the pitcher's hands. Don't do that. Be good at hitting the ball everywhere, even if it's a little out of the zone.
Right. It's just fun. And now that we've kind of transitioned from that pitcher heavy team that we were, with Woody and Burns and everything like that, it's fun to be back. It almost kind of takes me back to I'll call it your era, the 2008.
You'd be wrong, but yeah.
Well, that was the era that you got called up in, and
I was in a lot of eras, but yeah, I know what you're saying. The Prince Fielders, the Bronze, the JJ Hardys,
Ricky Weeks, that kind
Corey
of thing.
Hart, Ricky, yep.
It's a different vein of baseball than we've been in for a little while here. So it's kind of more fun on a fan side, and I'm sure it's fun on your side to kind of explore that area where before you were leaning heavy on your expertise in your pitching. Now you're probably learning more about growing up around baseball and being in baseball for 18 years, I'm sure you know all this stuff, but
yeah, there's a lot I don't know.
Right.
You can learn something every single day. I was talking to Murph one day and we're just talking about like, you can go to the ballpark and you think you've seen a ton and you'll see something you've never seen before at the ballpark. Like it's not that it hasn't happened before maybe, but you've maybe never seen it.
Right.
And that's what I love about baseball. If you think you have everything under control, that's why you see all these videos of guys swinging like boat paddles or something in the batting cage, thinking this is the new in whatever way. Or you see guys throwing, ping pong balls or golf balls or whatever they're doing off the mound. You can do all of that stuff. There's been gimmicks around forever, ever and ever and ever. And there always will be. But eventually it comes down to, can you hit a baseball? Can you throw a baseball? Can you throw a strike? Can you field a ball and throw it to first? That's all that matters. All that other stuff is all that other stuff. So, I've seen a lot of stuff in the game on how it's progressed. Even this team, like you said, relying heavily on defense and pitching, and hopefully they get home runs. They try to get guys that would come in and hit a bunch of home runs. At times they've had it. I don't think they were even emphasizing a home run this season, but they're in the top 5 or top 3, I think, maybe top 2, because they've been hitting a lot of home runs lately. But they've put together a well-balanced, athletic team. And with the new baseball rules, they're kind of ahead of some teams. You look at the Yankees last year, they had a whole bunch of guys that could DH, play right field, and play first base. And there's a reason they did bad is because they weren't on the precipice of stolen bases. They couldn't cover a lot of ground in the field. They couldn't take the extra base. And with the new bigger bases and with the new disengagement rules to the pitcher, encouraging guys to steal, and the shift restrictions so that, hey, however you were trying to hit it over everyone's head, now you can just ground a ball through the infield and get a hit. So singles have become better. You know, it's a premium to sit there and swing and make contact now. That's encouraged. Yankees were not built for that. Brewers have been building for that. That's why you got guys like Bowers coming. You saw Tyler Black. You've seen Churio, Frelick, Weimer, Garrett Mitchell, which I cannot wait for Garrett Mitchell to get healthy. He is fantastic player. He gets overlooked so often because he's had some couple of freak injuries, but he will be huge when he comes back. Mark my words there. And then Perkins, of course, what he's been able to do in the outfield. I'm sure I've left out several, but that's what it is. Athletic players that get to show off. Not only can they hit, but they can catch everything. They're all over the field. And so if you have to part with some pitchers, you can sacrifice that because you have such a dynamic team that's finding new and good ways to put runs on the board and keep runs off the board, I should say.
Now this is just going to be a little offshoot question. If you got called into Murph's office today and said, Tim, we need you to we're going to send you down, we're going to sign you a deal, send you down to AAA, get you ready. How long would you need to get ready to get back into Tim Dillard prime throwing form?
A year. 6 months. No, like in all seriousness, they would never happen. But let's say the season ends and they're like, hey, we want to bring you to spring training next year. And they gave me an off season. Clearly I could get back to, probably not a starting role sidearm, which was what I was doing towards the end of my career. I was a sidearm starter. But I could be a bullpen guy. I could do that. Like I said, I never had an injury with the arm other than guys hitting rockets off my hand, breaking my hand. Aside from that, yeah, I've never had a problem with the throwing arm. But Murph did make a comment about a week ago in one of his press things before a game. They were talking about starting pitching, and he's like, we got 8 starting pitchers that we were hoping were going to be healthy, not here, and guys that we've lost, like Burns, Hauser. And you start looking at all those innings. He's like, Dillard, you picked the wrong time to retire. And I was like, thanks, Murph, appreciate it. But yeah, like I think what they're looking for, they don't want to have to keep calling up rookies that maybe aren't ready. That's why you're seeing Colin Ray have a resurgence. He's been around a long time. He's finally getting his chance. That's why you're seeing Joe Ross is resurgence. He's been around a while. He's coming back from injuries. He's doing well. They want that, right? That's why they kept Miley on. That's why they can't wait for Woodruff to come back, because it's almost like the young guys are taking maybe longer to put it together. And it's not a knock on them. It's the environment that they're in AAA. This is the side effect of what MLB did when they stepped in with minor league baseball and they wanted younger guys in AAA, more prospects. Well, like I said, that chasm between AAA and the big leagues got bigger. And so now that's like, okay, well, let's go find that grizzled veteran that's still playing somewhere, because that's the guy that knows what he's going to do. He knows how to play. Mix that with a good opportunity and they're going to flourish. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up going to get somebody, they're going to get somebody that's probably been around a while and probably a guy that likes to pitch to contact.
Rich Hill is available. There was an article on Bleacher Report yesterday that Rich Hill is looking to continue at 44 years old. He's looking to continue and looking for.
Well, I guarantee he could still pitch, but what are you going to get out of him? I mean, to stay healthy, it all looks good until you put a batter in the box, right? Like once a batter gets in the box, you could throw all the live BPs on the backfield. You can throw all the bullpens and all the flat grounds, and you can try to, simulate what it's like to face a hitter in a game. But until that guy steps in the batter's box, you have no idea how your body's going to react. So, I would doubt he would last that long, but then again, it's not like I know him or have seen his training. But once you don't face batters for a while, it gets tough. That's what makes amazing. So Yelich yesterday, I think he got 4 or 5 at bats and made contact, like all of them. Guy has not faced major league pitching in 3 weeks. I was like, you got to be kidding me. 3 weeks he doesn't face any live pitching, and suddenly he can get bat on everything. Like that
Right.
is, I'm telling you, it's like one of those things. Like, okay, I could you take a punch from Mike Tyson? Could you, could you, if you had one at bat against, Randy Johnson, could you put it in play, or 10 at bats against Nolan Ryan, or whatever it is? Like, no, you can't do any of that. But Yelich did. Yelich 3 weeks off, still putting the ball in play. Pretty amazing.
Right.
And that's why we were watching clips of his batting practice the day before. And usually his batting practice is nice and relaxed, and he's like whack, and you just see the ball go to oblivion. But he was taking aggressive hacks. I think he was trying his best to over simulate probably what it was like swinging to see how he'd recover, was my guess. Because then he's like, if he woke up the next day and felt fine, boom, put me in the lineup. But yeah, sorry I'm getting so long-winded. It's like I haven't talked to anybody all day, which I haven't.
Well, I'm sure, when you're in the hotel or they probably give you a suite or something like that.
Yeah.
Above
Yeah.
Milwaukee.
That's not true at all.
Wayne Tower or something like that. No, but I mean, at the same point in time, you have such a knowledge, and that's one of the things that why I enjoy talking to you and why you're a good part of the broadcast. What do you think is the opportunity for pitchers to come in now at this point? I mean, there's free agent guys out there. There's some that we don't want to touch, i.e., a former Dodger. But what is the opportunity for us to go out and get one of these older guys? We've done this in the past with Julio Teheran. Joe Ross is kind of one of those who is a little bit out of the game, and then we brought him back in. Do you feel like that works out?
Well, I think if they had a payroll like the Dodgers, right, or the Yankees, just go get all of them. Go get any kind of pitcher you want. Maybe and you're panning for gold, and you shake one out, and you're like, here's a couple of gold nuggets. The Brewers got to be a little bit more methodical, just because they don't have the huge budget, and that's just the reality of baseball. And so when they go get guys, they got to get guys that they can, that are cheap, that they know that they can maybe rely on a little bit, and you try to get a bunch of them. But I don't think they're going to go and try to get anybody just now. They got Jacob Junis coming back soon, I think, and he's progressing. So I think they have things in the works. If it comes, trade deadline or something like that, I would not be surprised at all if they went and got somebody legit, right? I'm not saying they're going to go get CC Sabathia, but I'm telling you, if they have a chance and it just comes down to one starting pitcher, they will make that move. They have it built in, I believe, into their budget and what they're trying to do. But honestly, I want to see these guys thrive. I want to see Peralta continue to be the ace. I want to see Colin Ray throw a complete game. That would make my heart smile. See Colin Ray throw a complete game, and the dugout allow him to do that. I think you're going to see Joe Ross pitch in the 7th inning. I think he could have done it yesterday. He was robbed of that. I have a heart for pitchers that want to go deep in the ball games, because I heard Al Leiter on MLB. I don't know what show it is, but it's MLB Network, one of those shows. And they were asking him about the third time through the order, right? Like, this scientific thing of analytics of third time through the order. Historically, they hit better on the pitcher. They showed Al Leiter's numbers, and they were the exact same. It was like 240. First time to the order, they batted 240. Second time to the order, the third time to the order. And he thinks it's because they've told young players that you are going to struggle the third time you see this guy in the box. So you need to get everybody out, get 5 innings, and you've done your job. And that is what's being placed on all these young starters. So a lot of those guys across the board, across many teams, are getting to the big leagues, and they see the finish line as 5 innings. And Al Leiter's talking about, I wanted to throw the entire game. And you have to instill that in players. If they come in and you think they're a starter, hey, I want you to throw this entire game. And I remember as a starter, if I didn't get into the 7th inning, I felt like a failure. Like, I wanted 6 easy. I'm 6 innings, and if I got 10 pitches left, I'll finagle my way back out there and get some outs. I wanted to throw the entire game, and they just wouldn't let me. A lot of times they would take me out. And so Colin Ray last year throwing 5 innings at like 60 pitches, and they would take him out. And they can say, well, the bullpen's so good, so let's just do that. he has earned the chance to throw deeper into ball games. He's a guy that I would go, hey, do you feel comfortable with 120 pitches, 110? And if he was like, yeah, I think I could do that, I'd be like, all right, you got it today. And that would free a pitcher's mind up so much rather than, oh no, you're facing this guy for the third time. You know, this computer says he's going to get a hit off you. Like to me, it's a mindset. It's a result of what they've found, and it's had side effects that they did not know about. But that's what I see. I'm not sure what your question was, but I just went wherever I went. Sorry.
No, you actually gave some really
about a pitcher.
good insight in there. With that being said, though, you kind of allude to it. I mean, do you think the mentality is kind of the mentality, and obviously now the rush pace of the game, where we want 6 innings or 6 solid innings out of a guy versus we want him to go as long as he can? Do you think that's changed where some of these young pitchers are coming in with more injuries? I mean, right now we've got a slew of stuff going on with pitching. So
there's pitching injuries everywhere, and what they're teaching. So there is on Foul Territory. Do you watch that one? It's on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch a lot of them. I know some of those guys. I probably should watch more of it. I think it's a good show. They interviewed Dr. Meister out of Arlington, and he's the guy that's pretty much take over for Dr. Andrews. Not his practice, but like he's getting all the shoulder surgeries from everybody, the elbow surgeries. I think he operated on Woodruff. He is the guy that has seen this now for a while. He has seen what it looked like before, and then the last 5 to 15 years, what it looks like now. And he was saying in April, he had 28 different surgeries he was doing. So you're thinking maybe it was more than, maybe it was like 32, but it was at least one a day that he was doing surgeries. And it was from everywhere, from high school to college to pro ball. And he has a list of questions. He even talks about this, a list of questions that he asks everybody. What pitches do you throw? How do you train? Are you a starter, reliever, all sorts of stuff. And so he's putting he knows more about this than anyone on planet Earth. And he knows it too. He's not pompous about it. He shared a lot on that exact video. And every young pitcher needs to see this. But here's the thing. If you're a pitcher and you want to get to the big leagues and they say, okay, you got to throw as hard as you can. And we can teach you how to do that. So suddenly they go and they train, or maybe they're within an organization and they learn, boom, they bump up their miles per hour. And they're like, man, this is great. All right, now throw this slider or throw this split finger, whatever it is. So they're good and they make it to the big leagues. And then boom, a month later, they break down. And it's like, okay, well, guess what? There's another guy doing the exact same thing as you. He's trying to throw every pitch as hard as he can and throw every off-speed pitch as hard as he can. So boom, we have him for a month and then he breaks down. And you do that over and over and over again. That is what the problem is. They instead of having one guy that can be pretty good for the course of a season, they're okay with 5 guys and they just break down and we just get another one, right? Oh, this guy broke down. Let's get another one. And I mean, you could argue that, well, if a guy gets to the big leagues, he gets to the big leagues. And if he breaks down, he still gets like, a year of service time until he comes back. So who's actually getting hurt in this whole scenario? And to me, it comes down to the individual player of what kind of player do you want to be? Do you want to be a guy that plays a little while and then is hurt? Because talk to any of the guys that are injured ever, whether it's a freak injury or whether it's, a season-ending injury. When you're sitting around the clubhouse and you're not playing, you feel like an outsider a little bit, and it bothers you. I want to be out there with my guys. I want to be out there with my teammates. And there's some stuff that you just can't help. I took a line drive off the ankle one time. I threw a bad pitch. I threw a lot of bad pitches that ended up hitting me. Anyway, I probably should have gone on the injured list, but I hobbled around until I got to the field so I could walk, and I walked normal and it hurt. I could barely walk on my left leg. I didn't want anybody to know about it. So I just kept pitching. And then I'd leave the field and I would just limp around the house until I get to the field again. And I'm like, oh, I got to walk. I did not want to go on the IL. I wanted to keep pitching. And as long as I was still competitive, I would do it. If I felt like it was costing me more than, if I was costing the team anything, I still did good during that stretch. So I felt like I made the right decision. But there's some guys that are like, I'm hurt, I can't play. And they have to go find somebody else. If you want to be that guy, be that guy. But I did not want to be in the training room. I wanted to be sustainable throughout the entire year. Now, I didn't play in my favor because I didn't get a lot of time in the big leagues, but I was always the guy that came into a game at any level when something happened, right? There was a guy in AAA 2006 something. We were in Colorado Springs, and we had a pitcher that went 4 innings. He came out. There was another pitcher going in to pitch 4 innings. So I'm like, oh, sweet. So I'm eating an ice cream sandwich, of course, day game. I'm eating an ice cream sandwich in the bullpen, and they're like, yeah, y'all relax. This guy's got 4 innings. Well, he walks the first batter. He walks the second batter. He walks the third batter, and then he calls for the trainers to come out. And his fingernail exploded, right? Like, oh, my fingernail broke. They didn't even hesitate. They looked down there and they made the sidearm motion, since I was the only sidearmer that was right-handed. And I'm in the ball game, and I got ice cream sandwich all in my beard. And I'm just like, whoops. So I'm like trying to wipe it off, grab my glove, run out there. And I get out there. Nate Orff is in the infield. He's like, Dillard, I think you have ice cream sandwich in your beard. I was like, shut it, Orff. I was like, so anyway, I would throw my warm-up pitches. They let you have as many as you want if a guy gets injured. So I was like, I think I'm okay. Bases loaded, nobody out. I can't even remember what happened, but I remember I got out of it, right? Like I don't know if I got a dribbler back to me and I went home with it, or if I struck a guy out and then got a double play. Definitely defense related, I'm sure. And I just remember thinking, like, I take a lot of, I don't want to say pride, but I take a lot of satisfaction in knowing that when there's an emergency, out of everybody that could be out there on that mound, they chose me. They didn't choose anybody. They chose me. And I like that. I wanted to be that guy. Whatever's going on, Dillard wants the baseball. He's ready for the baseball, even with ice cream sandwich in his beard. That was me. That's the player I wanted to be. When they stopped letting me be a catcher and I was only a pitcher, I wanted the ball. Give me the ball. I only want to be on the mound. I'm very selfish. Just give it to me. I want to play. That was the kind of player I wanted to be. But a lot of times, guys, they choose short bursts of awesomeness and sacrifice their health a little bit.
Now, I'm going to go to an incident. I know it's a little older, but I'm going to go to the incident with the on-field brawl with the intentional pitch thrown at Siri last week.
Oh, yeah.
So my curiosity for you, obviously, I would assume you're of the same opinion of every fan there that I don't think Freddie was really intending to hit Siri. Just didn't seem like a intentional thing by any means. But my question for you goes into the part of the brawl that has always made everyone as a baseball fan laugh is the guys coming over the fence from way out in the bullpen.
Yeah.
To be a part of the brawl. Now, I'm sure you had your bench clearing brawls in your time in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever have any? Did you ever actually have any interaction, or did you just kind of stand there?
I never punched anybody, if that's what you're asking. I never had to. There's different kinds of guys when a brawl happens. There's guys that want to fight because they want to fight. There's guys that just kind of want to break it up, and then there's guys on the fringe that grab one of a buddy on the other team and act like they're doing something. And most of the time, I was just the guy that would grab a buddy on the other team, and I'm like, all right, you good, man? Hey, how's it going? Where are you eating after this? Oh, yeah, and that's real. That's exactly what you're doing. But yeah, if you're a bullpen guy and you know something's coming, then you're like already stretching, right? You don't want to pull a hammy. And the game will dictate. I've been in lots of games. I'm telling you, a lot of games where you knew something was coming, so you were already stretching, getting ready. And that's when you see a brawl happen and suddenly the bullpen's out there, both bullpens, because everyone knows they've been watching the game. Here come the bullpens. The other day, nobody was ready for that. Nobody saw that coming. That was totally the umpire's fault for throwing Freddie, because that sent the whole game on a different trajectory to where Abner Uribe tries to fight Siri. That was the result of the umpire thinking he saw something that wasn't there. And right. I believe Kurt Hogue, he tweeted that of the 18 batters this season that hit a home run and then were hit by a pitch the next at bat, Freddie's the only pitcher that had been ejected, and there were no warnings. And it tells me that the way the guys reacted, that they had no idea that was coming. I mean, you could see Contreras, you could see Freddie, like, are you kidding me? And then I react when I see the bullpens when they come charging in. They weren't ready. They weren't stretched. I'm telling you, you start watching really closely, like I'm paid to do sometimes. But when I was in the game, when I'm in the bullpen or in the dugout or on the mound, which I never got attacked, thank goodness. But you can tell how the guys are ready and how quickly they're out there as if this was intentional or not. That was not intentional. I wish that baseball would have came out and said, "Hey, we got it wrong." But because of that, the Brewers have to suffer. And Freddie has to serve 5 games. And the only reason he's doing that is to get rid of it so they can go ahead and plan out what they're going to do about who pitches next. So, no, I don't think he was guilty at all. I think the umpire was guilty of seeing something that didn't exist.
Was there a certain positioning, like, like were there guys in the bullpen that were more ready to climb that fence and get involved? Where did you fall in that hierarchy of, like the veteran pitchers? Are they more
Yeah.
like, yeah, all right, are we doing this right now kind of thing? Or
So number one, if you don't go out there, you are everyone goes out there. Even guys that probably shouldn't, that are on the inactive list, go out there. I've seen more players that maybe the starting pitcher that's already been out of the game, or a guy that's injured that's in the clubhouse, run out there on the field. I've seen guys in the minor leagues like doing charts in the stands that have come out onto the field. Like, I've seen more people that shouldn't be out there charge the mound than somebody that should be out there that doesn't go, because you are required to back up your teammates, your family out there. So that's never in question. What's in question is if you're watching close enough to see it. So, for instance, we were in Memphis one time and we had a pitcher on the mound, and Memphis AAA, and I saw a picture of ours the series before at home. I think we played Memphis, or at least a couple weeks ago, and he knew a guy on the other team. I don't want to name names. I'm sure you can go back and look if you were really cared about it. But a pitcher on our team was like hugging a hitter on the other team, and I'm like, I would never do that. I love those guys that I know on other teams, but I ain't hugging them for a game. That's not me. I was like, we can hug when we see each other, like in the parking lot. That's okay. And anyway, they're hugging and talking. They're former teammates, good friends. Well, later on in the ball game, he hits a home run off of him. And I'm just like, ugh, that's why you don't do it. So fast forward a week, we're in Memphis, and this guy's hugging the same dude again, and they're laughing about the home run. I can't believe I threw that pitch to you, blah, blah, blah. So now it's like the 7th or 8th inning. It's like a 2-run game. And this dude goes Oppo Taco to left field on the berm to take the lead. And the pitcher that's his buddy that's on the mound starts losing it, like screaming at him, like, you got to be kidding me. And he was my roommate on the road. So I knew right away. I started stretching. Everyone there, he's still jogging around the bases. I started stretching, told everybody, dude, we're about to clear benches. I was like, y'all be ready. Don't pull anything. And they're like, he's not going to hit the next guy. Because the next guy, I believe, was Donovan Solano, who's, I think he's with the Braves, maybe. I'm not sure who he's with. But he was a young and up-and-coming prospect, I think, for the Cardinals. He was batting like 140. And they're like, nah, they're not going to hit him. He's not the guy that they would hit. I'm like, I'm telling you, I was like, y'all better stretch. And I was like, I ain't going out there by myself. And I put my jacket on because back in the day, they would look at the tape and they would try to figure out everyone's number to find them. And so to get around that, you would put your jacket on and they wouldn't know who you were. So I put my jacket on thinking no one will find me out. Turns out later they did find me because I was out there. I was the only one wearing a jacket. Usually they can't tell you apart, but anyway, they found me. And anyway, next dude gets drilled in the ribs. And I mean, intentional or not, who knows, but it looks bad, right? And so we all clear benches, and I'm the first one out of the bullpen. I'm the oldest guy down there, but I beat everybody out there because I knew what was coming. And the bullpen on the other side was late getting there. They did not see that coming. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of part of it in that way. You protect your teammates regardless of what decision they make. And it's, you got to be aware. You hear about a lot of people getting hurt during these brawls. So you kind of keep your footing. That's why Hoskins got pushed down by Uribe on accident, and luckily he was okay. And I think you even go back and look at the video. Some of the coaches on the other team for the Rays were like holding Hoskins, like, "Hey, be careful, be careful, because we don't want you to be injured. Not only because you're a good player, but what happened to you last year. We don't want you to get injured over this." Right. Like so you can see some people that keep their level head during brawls, and I don't condone them. I don't ever try to fight anybody. There's sometimes you do have to fight, but it can get dangerous. I was a part of one in Magallanes in 2014 in winter ball in Venezuela. And that's the scariest. That's the I don't even want to tell that story because I'm like, I want to go grab my phone out of the clubhouse and call my family of like, I don't know if I'm getting out of here. It was fine. It was fine. I made it out.
Everything's fine. We're good. We're good. So do you have any set expectations for yourself going forward? Broadcast career, do you want to continue where you're at? Do you welcome the opportunity? The dynamic has changed now with Euchre aging and Schroeder's doing less, and obviously Brian Anderson's kind of more or less national. He's still our guy, but I mean, are you welcoming that opportunity at this point in your broadcasting career?
I mean, I absolutely, I love being here, and I want to work every single day, and I tell them that every year. They're like, "Hey, we want to sign you back," and I'm like, "Thank God, I need this job." And I was like, "Can I work every single day?" And they're like, "Nope." I'm like, "Okay," but that's my goal. I want to work every single day. I enjoy it. And a side effect of being at every single game and watching it is how good you can get at it. Just listen to Jeff Levering. Jeff Levering can pull a
So
game out of nowhere because he has seen it. Because even if he's not working the booth, he is on the radio watching the game. So he sees 162 games. He just does. Even if it's a nationally televised game, he's doing radio with you. So he has seen this. He has seen every single game, and it helps because he can just pull from stuff because he saw it. If you're only working every other series, you can try to watch the games on TV, but you're going to miss something. Um, so I look forward to the time when hopefully I can get to see every single game. I've never done radio. And a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, you should replace Uke." I don't see that happening. I don't think it's never been brought up to me. I would be honored if that was the case, but anything to be around the game. If you can't be on the field in the big leagues, be as close as you can. And broadcasting is awesome. No one's asked me to coach in the big leagues yet. I feel like I would maybe want to do that one day, but I don't know if anybody would take me serious enough. But because apparently I don't come across as a very serious guy. But I don't know. I
really?
I just want to be in the booth every single day. I want to be a part of the game every single day and watch it because I enjoy it and I try to be entertaining. I'm sure there's a whole group of people that don't give two anythings about my broadcasting ability. But it's not out of a lack of trying, But to me, baseball is entertaining. My favorite one to listen to growing up, we only had 4 channels, but it was Harry Carey. And you had Steve Stone and Harry Carey. And Steve Stone was this kind of the straightforward one of the group. And then you had Harry Carey, who was kind of a loose cannon in the best way possible. You just didn't know what he was going to say. And it made the game more exciting. And this is back when, think about some of those Cubs years, they couldn't get anyone in the stands. It's not like it is now where every
Right.
seat is filled every single game, regardless of how they're playing. No, it was day game on a Tuesday, and there's 1,000 people there spread out through the entire stadium. And Harry Carey made it super exciting. And I think that's what I want to be in that sense. I want to make the game, I want to explain it in a fun way that lets people know that there's more to what it's more than meets the eye, right? Optimus Prime. Transformers. There's more than meets the eye out there. And if the more I'm around it, the more I can see.
Okay. I appreciate all your time, so thank you for that. I'm
Yeah.
going to bring up a couple quick hits at the end,
Okay.
and you are infamous for your swag and your being featured in bobbleheads. Is there any upcoming? I think this one was last year, if I remember correctly,
Brought
right?
Zuka, yeah, for the Timber Rattlers.
You did the whole thing there. I've got the broadcaster one somewhere back there. I don't know. I've
Yep.
moved all
Bobblehead Museum. Yep.
Do you have any upcoming bobbleheads?
I don't think so. No.
No.
I didn't have any bobbleheads as a player. Maybe one. Maybe one was made.
That's the funniest part because
Yeah.
I have the social media selfie one for the phone
Yeah.
on the mound.
Yeah, that was the first one. And the Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum did that one. And I think I was still playing. I was maybe 2018.
Yeah,
Played
towards
a
the end of
couple
the
years
year,
after that.
10 years.
And then I've had like 4 or 5 since, which is very strange. I don't know why. But anyway, more popular now, I guess, is what I guess the right term, as a non-player than I was as a player, which strange to me, but I get it. No bobbleheads coming up right now, but yeah, I always got something in the works. I don't know
I
what's
know
next,
you've
but
got great
there's some
swag.
stuff
I,
going
I
around.
I had some of it here. I don't know exactly where it went, but you've got all those little stickers. I think I have the mixtape sticker as one
Yeah,
that you
I
gave me.
got trinkets galore. If you see me at American Family Field, just know that I probably have a sticker of some kind or a button. I love giving away stuff like that. Magnets. Made a magnet of Craig Kashan and was like, "Hey, y'all, just come down here if you want a Craig Kashan Brewers Live magnet." And they were gone. People were like, "Gotta have one of these." I made a button of Bob Kozlowski, who sings "God Bless America" on Sundays. Made him a button. He didn't even know about it, didn't tell him, gave it to everybody around him, and then finally gave him only had about 10 or 15 left. I gave all the rest away. And anyway, because I just thought it was cool. I like designing stuff. I like making little trinkets. It's just it's a nothing thing, but it can mean something, right? You can really brighten someone's day with just a simple little trinket. So I don't know. I don't know why I like that. I think I liked that kind of stuff as a kid. So I'm trying to make someone's day.
I find it great. You had some ones with I think Shofia was one of your ones. You had one with Levering recently that you posted on social. So go follow Tim's socials. They're great. He always posts good things, good content. Um, Now my other we've talked about this in the past. How many of these cups you got sitting around, Tim?
Ooh, the Brew Crew
Yeah, the new
tumbler,
one.
or is that what it's called? Tumbler, Stanley Cup that
Yeah,
everybody's.
it's like a
I
tumbler.
actually,
Quick.
so they were a hot commodity because they were only a special ticket package, I guess, and we don't always get all those things, but I was able to smuggle just one of them, and
That's all you need.
yeah, that's all you need. So anyway, I didn't know who to give it to, and when I got home, so I was like, "Well, I'm going to give it to my daughter. She's 13, and I think at Christmas she was asking for one of those tumblers like everybody had. Which I'm going to be honest, those things aren't very. I don't know. It's just a trendy thing. It doesn't fit in a
Mhm.
backpack like she has at school. Like it doesn't do anything. You can't even close it. You can just spill it. It's not like a Gatorade bottle you can squeeze in the mouth. So anyway, I gave it to her and she loved it. She took it to school and she tells me every day when she comes home, she's like, "Yeah, there's a couple people that were like, 'Where did you get that?'" And then she's like, some boy was like, "Is that a Brewers mug or whatever?" And she's like, "Yeah." They're like, "How'd you get that?" And she's like, "My dad's a broadcaster." I'm like, maybe you don't say that, but I was like, it is cool. And I told her, I said, "I don't know if you're gonna like this or not, but I guarantee, because I got it back like the next day. I said, I guarantee this may be the only one in the state of Tennessee right now, if that means anything to you. So as a kid, that you have something unique as a kid, you're like, I'm gonna show this off. So yeah, it went over well with her. It didn't make anyone else jealous. So I would love to have one too. I can just stick on the shelf because it's actually quite beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it's a nice cup. It really they did it well. I think anything with this new logo is kind of a hit.
Mhm.
So um yeah, I can't complain. It works for my purposes. Do you in your off time now, do you have a set routine, like a day off, day before, you're in Milwaukee? What do you do? What do you kill your time with?
Yeah, so yesterday was a day game, and then I went to the Admirals game, and the Admirals gave me a link of like a section. So a bunch of people were in the section, and we just watched the Admirals win. It was a fantastic game, one of the best first periods of hockey I think I've ever seen. But today it's just laundry. Like right now, I got laundry in the washer. I need to throw into the dryer, so it's not as exciting as you would think. But Saturday is a national game, a national broadcast game. I don't know who's doing it. If it's like an Apple thing or Fox thing, or I don't even know who steals games anymore. Peacock, maybe. I don't know. But I'm going to be tailgating. I don't know where yet, and I don't have a whole lot of stuff to tailgate with. But if by my definition, I will be parked in the parking lot with my back hatch up, and I'll be sitting in a brewer's chair on Saturday.
That's fantastic. See?
Yeah,
Look at
come find me.
exclusive right
Yeah.
here. Tim Dillard tailgating. Look for him Saturday. But see, that's the fun you can have now. You have that freedom to have that fun, right?
Sure, big leagues is hard. It's just a difficult thing to do, and if you're not completely protecting yourself as a player, like, because when the game's over, win or lose, you have to start thinking about the next day. And that's what gets overlooked a lot of times, guys, whether it's hydrating or getting your body ready, whatever it looks like. As a broadcaster, it doesn't really matter. You know, I think one time Craig Kashan told me, we did a game and I was like, that was a pretty good post game show. He's like, Dillard, we're undefeated. Like, there's no stats in broadcasting. There's no, you can't, if you're a player and you look at the stats, you're like, oh man, I'm not good. Or, hey, I'm having a pretty good season. As a broadcaster, you completely rely on what fans say because they're the only ones that matter, right? I may think I'm doing a great job, but the fans don't like it, then I'm not doing a great job, if that makes sense. So I appreciate when people say nice things. If I'm walking on the concourse or whatever, people are like, oh, it actually means a lot because I literally have no, if my mom calls me and she's like, oh, you did a great job. I'm like, Mom, you have to say that. Like that's in like DNA. That's a DNA thing. Like you have to say that I did good. But when a complete stranger comes up and just says that, like it goes so much further and it kind of reinforces you of like, okay, maybe I'm on the right track here, putting the broadcast craft together.
Right. All right. With that, I appreciate you. We've gone over an hour, and
Oh, my bad.
no, you're good, man. Hey, that was fantastic. I appreciate you every time you have the opportunity to talk, and I think that's why you're kind of a man of the people. That's why it's so good. So look for Tim this weekend, broadcasting, get some swag, and also tailgating on Saturday. So if you're going to Saturday's game, he will be out there tailgating. All right, Tim. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on as always. Guys, this has been Eric with the Miller Park Minute. That was Tim Dillard. Another great conversation. We will see you in the next episode. As always, go Brewers. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.